Let's let Solup help you by taking one first step. We're going to contribute $1,000 for every solar system sold that's referred, and all they have to do is say HopeLink.
Oh, beautiful.
We'll talk about, well, coffee is very important, but most importantly, we're going to be talking about housing security today and insecurity. But people that come in, how impactful are utility bills on their lifestyle? Could that be a life-changing event as well?
It is when you put it into the bigger pot of expenses that people have, because the cost of living out here has gone up tremendously and the incomes have not followed. So all of their expenses, which are going up, including utilities, cause problems. They have to make decisions. I mean, sometimes some of our senior folks have to choose between paying that electric bill or getting their medication, or family has to choose between getting nutritious food or maybe even going to a food bank to supplement. So anything that we can do to lower the burden on families that are struggling in our community, we think it's a positive thing. And of course, solar energy plays a big part in that.
We talk about choices, though. Really, unfortunately, at some point, not paying your utility bill doesn't have a good ending.
No, it can actually be life-threatening, especially for people that are not healthy, which, getting back to our seniors, we see that quite often. So, okay, I have to have air conditioning in the summer, but maybe I don't have to have this one medication. Well, they really do need both. And so they come to HopeLink and we try to fix them up. We assist with both of those bills. But if those bills didn't exist in the first place, now we're talking about getting a family stable as opposed to keeping them on assistance all the time.
And with other costs rising, we find the utility costs unfortunately continue to rise. And then I think that's where solar energy, it allows that variable cost to be taken off the table. And I know that we had some fun with 3 of your homes where you had some families in there. And how impactful was that for us to install solar, or just the solar experience overall?
They were all very grateful. It was a great experience for everyone. You guys came in and took care of everything for the families. It was wonderful. And not having an electric bill out here in Las Vegas in the summer is hugely impactful on all of the families. So I think all of us would like to not wake up to that summer electric bill, I'll tell you.
And really, it's part of the actual infrastructure of your home. And by bringing in solar energy, what we've done is really cap your exposure, and then that bill goes away. And there's a lot of low income offsets. Nevada, you're familiar with Nevada Clean Energy Fund, Kirst and the team. So many low income communities can actually save 20 to 30% right off the bat on their solar bill by choosing one of these finance mechanisms. And now they're paying a flat monthly rate for the solar that provides all of the solar energy, or I should say the electrons and electrical energy, to power their homes. And we find that to be extremely impactful.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that lowers the bill for the families that are out here that are really struggling, and there are hundreds of thousands of people that are really struggling. 88,000 families that we know in the state of Nevada that pay over 50% of their income on housing, but they're low-income folks making 30% of area median income or less. That's over 300,000 people that are just at severe risk of falling into eviction and homelessness. Those are who we focus on. Anything that we can do to lower their regular expenses actually gets them more stable. And the point is keeping them housed, while as a community we're working on building more affordable housing with solar energy as a part of that solution.
You speak to that, where the resources and the funds. I know you spoke with me before about the cost of keeping HopeLink, the cost of keeping someone housed, and the impact that it is on our infrastructure if we allow them to become unhoused.
Yeah. So we've been doing housing stabilization services for many years, but they really expanded during the COVID years. So the last 5 to 7 years, we have a lot of data internally. The average cost that we spend on a household is less than $5,000 for a household, less than 4 months of assistance. Now, these are people that have lost something. They've lost their job, they've lost their health, or they've had some unexpected expense come their way. For less than $5,000, we keep them stable. They do not hit the system of homelessness services. Now, if you compare that with a study that was done in 2018 by Clark County, by Help Hope Home, that showed that the cost of one person on our streets experiencing homelessness costs us $93,000 in services. Think emergency services, law enforcement, prisons, jails, hospitals, 911 calls, emergency room visits. $93,000 per person versus $5,000 to keep them housed. It makes a lot of economic sense to actually invest earlier in the continuum of services, keep them housed while we're building more affordable housing. It makes economic sense. It's less traumatic, it's much more efficient, and it's better for all of us. We look at that not as charity or welfare, we look at that as community infrastructure. It is the foundation that we need to keep healthy, and it affects everyone. It affects businesses, it affects our schools, it affects our employers who have employees that actually can get to work now and they're not worried about, man, I'm gonna get evicted soon. All of these things play into a healthier community when we keep our people housed, when we keep them stable.
So to go back and do the math, $5,000 to keep them housed. If we had a family of four, it's not $5,000 versus $90,000, it's $5,000 versus $360,000 annual impact. And I think I heard you cite one day also that we have a truancy problem in our schools, and some of that is attributable to housing stabilization.
Yes, the chronic absenteeism is a term that everybody looks at because it really does affect our schools. It affects the performance of the schools, it affects the mindset of the teachers and the counselors that are working at those schools, it affects funding for schools, and of course it affects the children that are being bounced around or coming to school and not coming to school. Number one cause of chronic absenteeism is housing instability. They don't know where they're going to stay that night, their family doesn't know where they're going to stay, so that's their priority. Figuring that out is not going to school. So when we think about stabilizing families in our community, it helps the school system. Children, we have found out from these housing unstable households, higher instances of post-traumatic stress, higher instances of anxiety, higher instances of obesity, higher instances of malnutrition, higher instances of depression. We can track all these things. Here's another one. They have a much higher instance of asthma because they're in places where they're breathing toxic air. You don't think about that, but these are preventable. So now we're talking about, now it affects our healthcare system, right? Sure. Because their costs are going up. And the people that are housing unstable don't go to quick care. They generally call for an ambulance that takes them to the emergency room. The highest costs for a stomach ache you could imagine, right? Instead of, hey, if you go and you get some Pepto-Bismol at the quick care, you're probably gonna be just fine. And they need to understand that. So we have an education piece that we have to do also. But when people are in crisis all the time, they're not making the best decisions. That's why when they're housing stable, it affects all of these things. It affects our employment partners. People that work for you and work for us struggle at times. You know that, we know that. They are not performing well when they're struggling. They are not thinking about how can I do my best job per solo, per HopeLink today, right? So it pays for us to take some of the money that we're spending on these crazy emergency services and invest that earlier in the system. That's what we're really working towards.
Is there a misconception that we're giving money to deadbeats, and rather than, because I hear that, and I know that's why you changed the term rental assistant versus housing, but I think that's something that most people really don't understand.
No, we are very big on accountability. We talk to people. We can't do anything for people. They have to do it for themselves. We can put them in a position to do it for themselves, and that's what we found is much more successful. But we have to understand that some of these folks that we're dealing with have been dealing with this for generations, and they don't know a different way to go about life. And so, and for us to actually change that, you can't do that in a month or two. It takes a long, long time, and basically a rewiring of how people look at living their lives. The rules of the middle class that are so familiar to us that make you successful in school or at work, they don't apply when you are struggling to actually just function on a daily basis. They have a different economy. They barter services and things. So they found a way to live outside of what will make them successful in our world. And so we try to coach them on that, bring them back in so they can be successful, they can get to work, they understand you do have to be there on time. It is an important thing. Things like that they're like, I don't get it. You know, why do I have to be there at that time? So it's an interesting thing that we learn in dealing with folks like this.
So it's not just housing stability, you're giving them a pathway also to employment and success. I think you have also, we've actually used your services for your employment side. If you can speak to that a bit as well.
Yeah, we are not workforce development, but what we found is that clients that are in our programs, we were referring them out to places like Employ NB and DETR, our unemployment state service, and they were getting lost on the ride. You know, it's 3 or 4 hours on a bus to get somewhere for an interview. They were late, everybody's upset. So we decided to bring that in-house. So we have a program called CareerLink internally that is just for clients that are in our housing and our shelter programs and our Family Resource Center, and we can actually get them interviews and get them employed with over 50 business partners at this point in time that actually pay living wages, and they will hire people that we actually are helping. So it's a great partnership. They get good people, we get jobs. It works really well for both sides.
Do you have sufficient funding for everything you need to do?
Oh, of course not. We're in the nonprofit world. It is extremely difficult federally. I think it's in the news. Everyone knows that they are looking to change some things, and it hasn't affected us yet because we actually score really well when we're in a competitive environment. Our programs score well. We are highly accountable, and we're very transparent. There's nothing that anybody has to come find on us. So we do well there, but here's an interesting study. Our friends at Nevada Grant Lab compared 4 cities across the country that were similar in size, demographic, income, and none of them had a state income tax. San Antonio, Orlando, New Orleans, Las Vegas. Las Vegas as a community spends $780 per capita on nonprofits in total. All nonprofits. That's the pie that everybody divvies up. The other 3 cities, if you combine them, they spend over $5,700 per capita, 700 times what we spend. So the pot of money that we have here just to start with is incredibly low. So we're working towards getting more federal investment, state investment, jurisdictional investment. It's a thing. And when we talk to legislators, we talk to them about, we have funding, we can bring a Super Bowl here, we can bring F1 here, we can build these amazing stadiums, we have tax credits for the film industry, but we're building coliseums for people that live here, they can't afford to attend. There's a disconnect there, right? So we have to talk about where we're putting our money, because we believe we have to. I love all those things I just mentioned. I love going to football games, and I love the A's. I mean, that's great, but the people that live here have to be able to afford to go there, and people that work there have to be able to afford to live here, right? So we have to be able to do both of those things. So it really is a conversation on what are we doing with our funding, because we think that there's enough to go around. We just have to allocate it properly.
You know, I think with some of the discussions we've had before, and I know I've seen it a lot, people think they're not giving enough, and so they don't give at all. They think, I can't give the $1,000 or $100 or $2,000. All I have is $5, and that's not going to be significant. And I know probably that rule holds true for all nonprofits, but what would you speak to that?
Money that comes into HopeLink, 93% of that goes directly to client services. I would even argue that 100% of that goes to client services, because if we don't have a back office that writes checks, we're not gonna be able to help anybody. But 93%, literally, if you take off the administrative part of our business, goes directly to them. So any amount helps. They all add up. I mean, we have hundreds of people that give us lower amounts on a regular basis, our recurring donors, and some give more because they can afford more. But we think out here you can do well and do good at the same time. You know, we think you can do that, and really our conversation is never about demonizing somebody. It's always about explaining that.
You know, another statistic too, how many people are just one paycheck or one engine breakdown away
from
homelessness in Nevada?
So, yeah, we hit that a bit earlier in Nevada. We can track over 300,000 people, 88,000 families that make 30% of area median income or less. That's $31,000 for a family of 4. they make that or less, and they're not in subsidized housing. They're paying market rate for their rent, and they pay over 50% of that, $31,000, towards their housing cost. Those people are the ones that are high at risk, because at that level you can't save, you don't have a rainy day fund. If you get sick and you've used all your personal private time off, or if you have a car repair, we call them a flat tire away, because they don't have money to fix things that other people might. The $300 or $400 bill that they're not expecting can cause them to not be able to pay their rent. And we have the craziest eviction laws in the entire country in this state. So they can fall into that eviction process, which starts to spiral to homelessness very quickly and very easily. And that's where we think, with basically a small financial bridge, we can keep them stable, keep them housed. They never hit that system, while we're building more affordable housing as a community. When that's ready, they can move into that.
So I think there's a lot of misconception too, and I learned from you. Everybody thinks it's a catastrophic loss. I've lost my job, but it's a flat tire. It's a $1,000 auto repair. That's the difference between medication, utility.
You would be surprised how many people you know that are in that instance that don't look like it, but they are. We're very instably housed out here, even if you're at a higher income level. It's just because you bought a house, you bought a car, you bought a lot of things at a certain income level. Well, the cost of everything has gone up and your income hasn't followed, right? So it's a concern for us. It's a concern for us, for our community, especially for our seniors who cannot get a second job, who cannot just go to work. You know, they are stuck with that income, and that income is it's stagnant right now.
So we talk about contributions to your donations. Are in-kind donations helpful to you, and what type of in-kind donations?
We often do hygiene drives. That's a big one for us, because that's things we don't have to buy, and those are large expenses, and cleaning supplies, things like that. We do drives with businesses that want to have their staffs come in and put together some kits for us, because we do a non-congregate emergency shelter. We do rapid rehousing. These are households for people that are moving in basically from a situation of homelessness into a property with nothing. So we need everything at that point for them. The rapid rehousing, we need everything from furniture to silverware to towels to sheets for beds, for pillows, I mean, all of that. And then in the shelter environment, they have the very, very basics, but there's no dishes, there's no shower curtain, there's no things like that. So we put together those kits, and a lot of that comes from our community partners.
I know you had solar installed here. We didn't do it. It was another company, thank goodness, that contributed solar to you. But what does that save you in a year?
Oh gosh, it cut our utility bills on a pretty good sized building in half. I think they put up as much as they possibly could up there because of the constraints of our roof. Yeah, it probably saves us in the summertime $800 or $900 a month.
So about $10,000 a year.
Yeah, it was very nice of them. The Hamile Foundation actually paid for the install on that, and our friends at Robco Solar actually had the panels donated. So it was wonderful of all of them.
So in-kind donations are great, but it also shows the effect of commercial solar. And we discussed this as well. And part of that $1,000 contribution is we get some of these commercial partners and business partners out there, and potential business donors thinking of putting commercial solar on their rooftop. That's a contribution that we can make. So we serve two ways. They certainly can mitigate their bill, and while we're helping support the HopeLink cause.
Absolutely, and other businesses, I talk to like our chambers of commerce, for instance, and they ask, what can we do? Well, we pay for pest control. If you're a pest control business, you could donate that. It wouldn't mean much to you, but it would mean something to us, which just leaves us more funding that we can get out into the community. All of those things. We have handyman things that need to be done in our office. We have painting that needs to be done. All of those things. So if you have those kind of businesses, you could offer up those services on occasion, and they're very likely a tax write-off for that business, but they're huge for the community.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about how our relationship kind of was forged, and as we know, I could not be a stronger advocate of everything we do here. Kind of environmental justice and prevention of homelessness are two of my core drives and beliefs. And the reason that we're so involved with you is because the mission you have is just amazing. I'm proud to serve on the board, and I can sit here, everyone that will watch this video, let you know that you've got the best CEO of a nonprofit I think I've met in the state of Nevada, and I meet quite a few. But this, I'm proud to serve on your board. Anything that we can do to try to move this relationship and forge a stronger bond. And I think that going out to the community and having a resource that allows it to be a win-win. We're not selling, there's no snake oil. We're trying to get, we can offset two things. One, I have environmental justice. Every time we put solar on a rooftop, that's one less coal plant that's fired, a little less gas that's being burned. And at the same time, we're able to give back to to your community involvement or to your mission as well.
Absolutely, we're always looking for relationships like that, where, like I say, you can do well as a business, but you can also do good in the community. And we on our side try to promote SolUp, because you have done so much for us. So when people come in and talk about, man, I would like to consider solar, well, we have a referral for SolUp. So we can't thank you enough for everything that you have done for us and helping maintain our system here and putting solar on the houses and actually helping us raise funds. It's incredible. It's a great partnership to have, and we can't speak highly enough of our relationship and of you in particular.
No, you're very kind. Thank you, Aaron. I know sometimes there's a misconception about rental assistance, and I know we call it housing security. And the reason for that, there was a misconception that this is kind of helping deadbeats.
A bottomless pit, they thought it was.
Exactly.
No, our data shows that is not the case. Our data shows that in our community, where the cost of living has just gone up so much and the incomes have not, there's this rising gap between what's out there and what's affordable. And I can tell you that the people that we deal with people that are experiencing homelessness and people that are fully working. All of them are struggling. I think, to your point, people think that people that are in these programs that we have, like rapid rehousing or an emergency shelter situation, that they're beyond help, or that they are some sort of a deadbeat, or that they have caused their own problems. And I would just say that we've seen something different. I mean, largely those types of instances stem from a mental health crisis that was either not treated or it was self-medicated. The self-medication leads to street drugs, which leads to that spiral, and you don't get there quickly. It's a long spiral to get to where they're at. Yes, they have made some bad decisions, some of them along the way, but think about this. They have children that are being drugged through this. So even if the parents did make every bad decision imaginable to get where they're at, they still have children. And we don't want the children to be in this same cycle of perpetual poverty like their parents are. That's why we need to step in as a community to do what's best for those households. And honestly, in a country and a community where we have so many resources, no one should be homeless and no one should be hungry. We should have facilities for all of them. And that's coming from a guy that is about as conservative as you will ever meet. We should be doing those things for them. And it's better for all of us, and it raises the standard of living for all of us that live alongside them.
No one really ever talks about the impact on the kids.
Not enough, in my view. It really is trauma. And that's why we see they have post-traumatic stress that they deal with, and it affects them long term. Our stated goal here at HopeLink is to disrupt that cycle of perpetual poverty. I've been doing this work long enough to actually see children of people, of families that we have served 10 years ago, and the children are coming in for the same issue. Our system did not work, and it bothers me. That's why we are really leaning into earlier intervention. We can solve for a lot of this fairly easily if we just put our best and brightest on earlier services to where they don't get to the point where they're facing eviction. It's less expensive, it's less traumatic, it's more efficient, it is better for all of us.
I've spoken to some teachers that say, some of these kids also become very reclusive because they're embarrassed You come to school, they can't. Everyone else is going on vacation. They can't talk about the vacation they go on. I imagine the psychological impact is pretty profound.
It is, and they learn to live in a different way that we do. We're talking about the psychology of the middle class versus the psychology of poverty. It is a different way of living. These people are smart. They're not any less smart than the people that have the educations. They've just learned to do it a different way. A lot of times that different way is really destructive for them and the people that are around them. And we believe that we need to step in at that point to show them, you don't have to live like this. Here's your opportunity to go in a different direction. Will you take it? And if you will take it, we're here to help you.
Do you have a challenge finding landlords?
Honestly, we don't. We highly value our landlord partners. We have over 50 partner properties and property managers that we work with. I gave an example. Through COVID, when you didn't have to pay the rents, we made it a point to make sure everyone got paid every time on or before the first of the month. It created all kinds of trust and goodwill with us. And then because they realized we were looking out for them when we didn't have to. And this is when you weren't supposed to be in the office. We were in the office. We were cutting those checks because we can't do what we do without our landlord partners and our property partners. And oftentimes they get a bad rap. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't a few bad ones sprinkled out there. There are bad nonprofits sprinkled out there. There are bad solar operators sprinkled out there. But that's not the majority. The majority are people that care deeply about their community, is what we have found. And again, we use that term a lot of times. They can do well and do good at the same time as well, and we try to show them how. And one way is we make sure they get their rents on time, and they accept our people that would not qualify any other way if they didn't have an attachment with a HopeLink. You know, Steve, you mentioned something that I wanted to hit on. It's that solar needs to be added to our toolkit, basically, for the community to help people get stable, but to help our businesses and to help our underlying economy. We're not asking for solar to take over everything else. We're asking to add solar to the actual system, right? We need everything that generates more energy, everything that lowers our cost is a good thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you know, solar has the same misconception as nonprofits and housing security. You know, we're not replacing anybody. Nobody loses a job by putting solar on your rooftop. The opposite holds true. Right now, we're in an extreme deficit. NV Energy has an IRP out where they're adding roughly 6,000 megawatts of solar, 1,500 megawatts of energy storage, or megawatt hours of energy storage, and another 2,000 megawatts of geothermal. And they're still short 6,000 megawatts. Now, whether we believe in data centers coming to our or not, and that's an entirely different issue,
Sure.
We're going to have energy consumption and energy growth that needs to be addressed. Solar on a rooftop solves a lot of problems. We're not out in the desert building utility scale. We're not adding peaker plants that use natural gas. It's still another clean form of energy. But why don't we first exhaust all the rooftops that are vacant, right? And this is both a benefit for you as the occupant of your building and owner, and also for the community benefits by having increased solar production. But it also becomes a lifestyle. And that's a lot people don't look. You know, a lot of people look and say, I don't want those panels up on my roof. This is really not a very attractive, but let's make it fun. And fun is certainly not a solar water heater. But there's things like, people really overlook the value of an electric car. They say, well, I'm only saving $150 on my utility bill. Yes, that's a trade-off, but you're spending $400 a month in gas. That same electric vehicle can do two things for you. It'll cost you about $150 in electricity now to charge it, but also you can use that vehicle to plug in your home when you get home, and that becomes your backup battery. You know, that's the way technology is going. Then we have fun things. I think you've been to my office. We have e-foils, e-bikes, you know, all kinds of fun things that you can use that solar array up on your rooftop to now have a lifestyle for you, your children, your neighbors. They make electric barbecues, right? And, you know, instead of gas fireplaces, they have these fantastic looking water flames. You've seen them where it's a water vapor. It looks like a flame. So again, we're not replacing it. Nobody loses a job by putting solar on a rooftop. The absolute opposite holds true. It means that we can create more jobs, build more homes, and build more commercial construction because we'll have the energy capacity to be able to do so.
Now, I love that, and I couldn't agree more. We need every technology available to us to take care of our people and to take care of our energy needs. So I support you wholeheartedly on that. That's great.
And do you need more property owner partners?
Always, because we're increasing the things that we do, and we're always looking for more inventory there, because our point is to place a family and get them stable and let them take over that bill 6 to 9 months into that when they're in one of these supportive programs. So that's off the market, hopefully. So we need another one for the next family. It's not like we just keep rolling these things over. We're putting people in there to be permanently living there.
And then my $1 million question, how do we solve the problem?
We believe that the key is an earlier intervention. We believe the key is not waiting until the last minute. Today, to qualify for our services, you have to be on your last dollar, your last breath, your last thread before you qualify for anything. We can't catch everybody at that point. It's too late. If people get evicted, they now have a criminal record they have to deal with. If we were to intervene earlier, which is what we're talking to at the state level, if we can have housing instability services earlier in the continuum, so a school counselor calls us, I know this family is struggling, we can deal at that point. A landlord could call us, we can deal at that point. An employer could call us, or a family can see, look, I'm laying out my situation, I cannot pay my rent next month, as opposed to waiting until they're in the eviction process. We can solve those things faster and better, and because most of those people we're talking about, they're working. They are not the deadbeats we're talking about. They're just struggling in an economy that just isn't working for them right now.
So this type of funding is something that would be beneficial in the governor's budget?
Absolutely. We are trying to make that point. We've contracted research with the Corporation for Supportive Housing. They're a national research firm that works on housing and supportive housing issues. And we are trying to quantify what housing instability is costing us right now through 5 major sectors, like the justice system, the healthcare system, the economic mobility, which would be our employment system, emergency services, and education. And all of those costs, those are basically the cost of doing nothing. That's what we're paying right now. And we see that those costs are tremendous. And our whole goal is to show if we can invest that money earlier, here's how much we can save you on the back end. There was a Massachusetts program that we are looking at close. It's called the RAFT program. And Boston recently did a report to the state of Massachusetts. They invested $3.8 million just in the Boston area in these housing stability services, and they were able to track $26 million of savings downstream. We know that that's the case. We're trying to prove it, and we're trying to get the data so we can show that earlier investment saves us money. It's not an extra cost. We're not asking for more money. We realize we're in a budget crunch, but this will save us money. And this is when we talk to businesses, everybody just nods their head. They get it, just like you. I get it. I understand. That makes sense to me. We're trying to get the data to actually make that happen. And HopeLink wants to be the agency that actually facilitates this for the entire state of Nevada. We're already set up to do it.
It's interesting you mentioned Massachusetts. We always use the Massachusetts model for energy. Massachusetts is one of the states, Illinois as well, California to a certain extent, that wants energy from every resource they can. And this is something we're always battling in the state of Nevada. And we still have a lot of gas-fired plants. The solar adoption is critical. Every rooftop that you have, including yours, and every empty building in the state of Nevada could be a power generation source. And we're working, as you know, on virtual power plant bills, and how do we have that alignment? But it's interesting, I find that energy conservation, environmental justice, and also homelessness prevention tends to be the same core group. And I think I find it wonderful. It's funny when you mentioned Massachusetts. So again, I think what we need to do is if we can get 1,000 people to mention HopeLink, and each of those buys solar and gives you 1,000, that's $1 million to HopeLink this year to add to your budget. So I think that is something that we want to tell everyone out there, that we can both serve themselves and serve your community by going solar.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you, Aaron.